Do you know that feeling when an entire company runs smoothly for years, and somehow nobody remembers you exist until the exact moment everything starts falling apart? Yeah, that was basically my life for almost 18 years. And funny enough, it all started unraveling because somebody in accounting couldn't figure out why payroll had frozen for 312 employees on a Thursday morning. I remember standing in the copy room, holding half of a stale blueberry muffin in one hand while staring at the office printer flashing an error code I had personally fixed at least 27 times before. The machine let out this horrible grinding noise. I sighed. Of course, I muttered, because apparently nothing in that building was physically capable of surviving without me touching it first. Not the servers. Not payroll. Not the scheduling software. Not the onboarding systems. Hell, half the executives couldn't even connect their own laptops to Wi-Fi without calling me like I was some kind of corporate emergency hotline. My name is Rebecca Turner. At least, that's what my legal documents say. Inside the company, people usually called me Becky or Rachel. One VP had been calling me Brenda for 6 years. I stopped correcting people around year 9. Didn't seem worth the effort. Every morning I arrived at 6:15 a.m. Not because I had to. Nobody asked me to. I just learned a long time ago that if I didn't arrive early enough to check overnight server sync reports, somebody somewhere would accidentally break something expensive before 9 o'clock. And guess who would end up fixing it? Me. Always me. I was officially listed as Senior Operations Coordinator. Fancy title. In reality, I was somewhere between an IT specialist, HR backup, logistics manager, systems administrator, office therapist, procurement officer, crisis negotiator, and part-time babysitter for adults who somehow earned 6-figure salaries despite struggling to understand basic file management. I knew everything. I knew which department secretly exceeded budget every quarter. I knew why the 4th-floor conference room projector overheated every Tuesday afternoon. I knew the exact printer in the West Wing that jammed whenever humidity went above 60%. I knew which executives were secretly interviewing at competitor firms. I knew whose marriages were falling apart based entirely on how aggressively they slammed office drawers. I knew everything. Because unlike everyone else there, I paid attention. The company had started small. Tiny. Back then it was 12 employees squeezed into a rented floor above an insurance office downtown. No investors. No fancy branding. No million-dollar software systems. Just ambition. And me. I joined when I was 28. Young enough to believe loyalty actually meant something. Old enough to work harder than everyone around me. The founder back then, Daniel Mercer, used to tell everyone the same thing. We're building something special here. And for a long time, I believed him. I worked weekends. Skipped birthdays. Canceled vacations. Spent Christmas Eve one year manually restoring corrupted employee databases after some idiot intern downloaded malware through an email attachment labeled Free Bahamas Cruise Winner Confirmation. I didn't complain. Not once. Because I thought someday somebody would notice. Funny thing about corporate loyalty. It has an expiration date. You just never know when yours runs out. Things started changing when Daniel retired. Board brought in a new CEO. Ethan Caldwell. 42. Perfect teeth. Perfect suits. The kind of guy who says things like optimize synergy opportunities while having absolutely no clue how anything inside the company actually works. First week he arrived, he held one of those mandatory company-wide meetings. Lots of smiling. Lots of words like innovation, growth, transformation, future vision. I stood in the back of the room holding a clipboard while watching him introduce 3 brand new executives. Chief Innovation Officer, Brand Strategy Director, Corporate Culture Architect, whatever the hell that means. 3 new salaries worth more than my yearly income combined. Meanwhile, I'd spent 2 months fighting accounting because they refused to approve replacement monitors for customer service employees, whose screens literally flickered like horror movie props. That should have been my warning sign. But I stayed quiet. Always quiet. That was my mistake. Then came Vanessa, Human Resources Director. 31 years old. Fresh MBA. Expensive perfume. Walked around the office carrying one of those stainless steel water bottles covered in motivational stickers. She smiled constantly. Not warm smiles. Corporate smiles. Dangerous smiles. The kind people wear when they're already planning how to replace you. First conversation we ever had? She walked into my office holding a stack of onboarding paperwork. "Rebecca," she said. I looked up, actually surprised she knew my name. "We're restructuring internal processes." Never trust that sentence. Ever. Corporate people love certain words. Restructuring, optimization, realignment, efficiency. Those words always mean one thing. Somebody's about to lose their job. She smiled wider. "We noticed a lot of your responsibilities overlap with newer software automation systems." I stared at her. She kept going. "We're entering a more streamlined operational era. Now, I may not have fancy degrees. I never went to Ivy League schools. Never learned how to say meaningless business nonsense while pointing at PowerPoint graphs. But I know when somebody's politely telling me I'm becoming obsolete. And right there, I felt it. That little crack. That first sign something ugly was coming. I should have started preparing then. Instead, I went back to work. Because old habits die hard. That same afternoon payroll system crashed. Entire employee payment queue frozen. 312 salaries stuck in pending authorization. Panic everywhere. Accounting director started sweating through his expensive shirt. VP of Finance practically sprinted into my office. "Rebecca, can you fix this?" I looked at him. For 17 years, I had fixed everything. And suddenly I noticed something. Nobody said thank you. Ever. Not after 14-hour workdays. Not after emergency system recoveries. Not after weekends spent rebuilding infrastructure after server failures. Nothing. No promotions. No bonuses. No appreciation. Just expectation. They expected me to solve problems. Like gravity. Like electricity. Like oxygen. Always there. Always invisible. That afternoon I manually rebuilt the payroll queue. Took 4 hours. Nobody thanked me. Ethan, the CEO, walked past my desk later. Didn't even stop. Didn't look up. Just casually said, "Great teamwork today, everyone." Everyone. Not me. I sat there staring at the monitor. And for the first time in nearly 2 decades, I started remembering things. Things they forgot. Things nobody else knew. Things tied directly to me. Things capable of bringing the entire company to its knees. And suddenly, I realized something. I wasn't an employee. I never had been. I was infrastructure. And infrastructure becomes very dangerous the moment people forget who built it. 3 days later, the meeting invitation arrived. 4:57 p.m. Friday. Subject line. Private HR discussion. No explanation. No details. Just a calendar notification quietly sliding into my inbox. I stared at it for nearly 20 seconds, then slowly leaned back in my chair. Outside my office window, the entire city glowed orange beneath sunset. Inside the building, employees laughed somewhere near the break room. Normal Friday energy. Nobody knew. But I knew. After 18 years, I knew exactly what was waiting for me Monday morning. And this time, I wasn't going to leave quietly. Not after everything I had built. Not after everything they owed me. They thought they were about to remove a replaceable employee. What they didn't understand was that I had spent nearly 2 decades becoming the single person holding together every invisible system they never bothered to understand. And Monday morning, they were about to find out exactly what happens when the woman carrying the entire company finally decides to let go. Monday morning felt strange. You ever wake up already knowing your life is about to split into before and after? That was me. I arrived at the office exactly at 7:03 a.m. Same as always. Same parking spot. Same coffee from the gas station across the street. Same gray blazer I'd worn to every major crisis meeting for the last 6 years. Funny how routines survive even when everything else is about to collapse. At 8 o'clock sharp, I walked into conference room C. Vanessa from HR was already sitting there. Perfect hair. Perfect smile. Across from her sat some legal guy I'd never seen before. The kind of man who looked like he billed people by the minute just for breathing near them. Vanessa folded her hands. "Rebecca. Thank you for coming." I said nothing. She took a slow breath. "We've decided to move forward with organizational restructuring." There it was. I almost laughed. 18 years. And somehow they all manage to sound exactly the same when they fire you. Like there's a secret handbook somewhere. Chapter 1. Smile while destroying someone's livelihood. She pushed a folder toward me. Inside. Severance package. 2 months salary. Confidentiality agreement. Health coverage ending in 14 days. Not even enough respect to offer proper compensation. Then I noticed something. The termination letter listed my name wrong. Rebecca Thompson. Not Turner. I stared at it for 3 full seconds. Vanessa noticed. Oh, sorry about that. Sorry. I almost admired the irony. They were removing the woman who built half their operational systems and couldn't even spell my name. The lawyer finally spoke. We'll need your company credentials immediately. Laptop, access card, administrator permissions. I slowly placed my badge on the table, then the office keys, then my access token. Silence. I looked directly at Vanessa. You sure? I asked. She frowned. Excuse me. You sure you want all of it? That confused her. Good. She forced another fake smile. This decision is final. I stood, picked up my purse, then said something I hadn't planned. You know what's funny? Neither of them answered. I smiled. You're firing the only person in this building who actually understands how your company works. And I walked out. No tears. No screaming. No begging. Outside the building, I sat in my car for almost 10 minutes staring at the steering wheel. I expected sadness, anger, humiliation. Instead, I started thinking about everything tied to me. And then I remembered. My stomach dropped. Oh my God. 3 years earlier, when the company expanded internationally, our internal infrastructure needed rebuilding. Cloud migration, security frameworks, remote access architecture. Nobody understood the technical side except me, so I built everything personally. Every internal automation, every backup structure, every security certificate, every administrator override, every system recovery protocol. And because the CEO at the time trusted me completely, everything had been registered through my professional licensing credentials. Mine. Not the company's. Mine. I immediately grabbed my phone. Called Marcus. Marcus had worked cybersecurity for years. Old friend. Brilliant. Picked up after one ring. Rebecca. I didn't waste time. You remember that infrastructure build I did for Horizon Systems? Silence. Then. The enterprise migration project? Yes. Another pause. Then he understood. Oh. I smiled. A dangerous smile. Exactly. I drove straight home. Went into my office. Opened my backup archive. There it was. 3 encrypted master recovery files. Primary authentication architecture. Licensing registry. Administrative ownership documents. Everything. Legally speaking, the company owned the data, but the entire framework controlling access permissions, registered under my independent contractor credentials from the original deployment contract. Nobody updated ownership. Nobody transferred authority. Nobody checked. Because nobody thought to ask. They assumed I was just another employee. I sat there staring at the screen, then opened the latest company termination email. Vanessa. Subject. Please confirm all company property has been returned. I read it twice, then started laughing. Not because it was funny, because suddenly I understood exactly how blind these people were. They thought I was replaceable, but they had no idea I still controlled the foundation beneath everything. I clicked reply. Short message. Simple. Asterisk yes. Asterisk. Asterisk including the things you forgot I had. Asterisk. Send. 5 minutes later my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. It was Ethan. Ew. Straight to yelling. Rebecca, what the hell does that email mean? I leaned back in my chair. For 18 years I fixed his problems. Now I finally got to enjoy creating one. You fired me, I said calmly. That email sounded threatening. No. I interrupted. It sounded honest. Silence. Then. What exactly are you talking about? I opened the licensing documents on my monitor. Thousands of employees. Entire global infrastructure. All dependent on systems nobody understood. Except me. I smiled. You know, Ethan, I said quietly, there's something you probably should have checked before firing the woman who built your entire operational backbone. I heard his breathing change. Confused. Nervous. Good. Very good. And right there, for the first time in 18 years, I stopped feeling like the employee and started remembering exactly how much power I actually had. They thought Monday was the end of my story. Poor idiots. Monday was only the beginning of theirs. The first sign they understood something was wrong came 2 hours later. At exactly 2:17 p.m. My phone started vibrating non-stop. Missed call. Missed call. Missed call. Then Marcus texted me. Did you disable access? I smiled. Not yet. See, here's what nobody at that company understood. When I built their infrastructure years ago, I designed emergency security protocols. If ownership credentials were compromised, the system automatically required administrator verification every 72 hours. And guess who remained the primary administrator? Me. At 3:04 p.m. Ethan called again. This time he wasn't angry. He sounded scared. Rebecca, we're having some access problems. I stayed quiet. Our cloud storage is rejecting authentication requests. Still quiet. Our remote teams can't connect. I let 5 seconds pass, then finally answered. Sounds serious. Can you fix it? There it was. The same people who fired me 8 hours earlier already needed me back. I laughed. No. Silence. Then he changed his tone. Look, maybe we acted too quickly. Too quickly. 18 years reduced to asterisk too quickly. Asterisk. I leaned back. You removed me this morning. We can discuss compensation. I almost laughed again. Compensation? Now they wanted to negotiate. After years of ignoring me. After treating me like furniture. After replacing loyalty with arrogance. No thanks. Then I hung up. 10 minutes later Vanessa called. HR suddenly sounded much less confident. Rebecca, we may have misunderstood certain operational dependencies. I interrupted. You mean you fired the person keeping the company alive? She stayed silent. Then came the panic. By evening their internal communication system started failing. Payroll servers stopped syncing. Employee databases locked verification requests. Regional offices lost internal access. Their entire infrastructure had started entering automatic security lockdown. Exactly how I designed it years earlier. Not sabotage. Protection protocol. Perfectly legal. Marcus called me. You know they're probably losing millions right now. I looked at the screen. Thought about 18 years. The unpaid overtime. The missed birthdays. The endless disrespect. Then I said, good. At 7:30 p.m. Ethan called again. No yelling this time. No CEO ego. Just desperation. Rebecca, what do you want? I thought for a second, then answered. Nothing. What? I don't want money. Silence. Then I continued. I wanted respect. You had 18 years to give me that. Please? Investors are involved now. I stood near the window watching city lights. Funny. Now he sounded exactly like every employee I'd helped for years. Panicked. Dependent. Powerless. And suddenly, I realized something. This was bigger than revenge. For years they thought I needed them. But the truth? They had always needed me. They just noticed too late. I opened my laptop. Started typing one final email. To Ethan. To Vanessa. To the board. Subject line. Operational ownership clarification. 3 sentences. That's all. Asterisk as of today. I will no longer provide support for infrastructure systems built under my independent contractor licensing agreements. Asterisk. Asterisk any future recovery requests will require separate legal negotiation. Asterisk. Asterisk you should have thought about this before firing the person who built your company. Asterisk. Send. 5 seconds later. My phone exploded. Calls. Messages. Emails. Panic everywhere. And somewhere downtown, inside that glass office building, the executives who spent years pretending I was invisible were finally learning the most expensive lesson of their careers. Never underestimate the quiet woman doing all the work. 'Cause sometimes, She isn't part of the machine. Sometimes, she is the machine. Now, I had just turned it off. Tuesday morning. I woke up to 37 missed calls. Most from numbers I recognized. Executives. Department heads. People who hadn't spoken to me in years. Funny how quickly people remember your existence when their world starts collapsing. I ignored all of them. Made coffee. Sat in silence. Then Marcus sent me a message. It's getting ugly. Apparently overnight their systems had fully entered lockdown. No employee authentication. No payroll access. Internal communication servers offline. Client management software frozen. Remote branches disconnected completely. The company had basically stopped existing. And every minute cost them money. A lot of money. At 10 a.m. Ethan called again. I answered. His voice sounded destroyed. Rebecca, the board is involved now. I stayed quiet. They want to speak with you. I laughed softly. Now they do. Please. I thought for a second, then agreed. 30 minutes later I joined the call. 6 board members. 3 lawyers. Ethan. Vanessa. Nobody looked confident anymore. One older man started speaking. Miss Turner, we understand there has been some unfortunate misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. Interesting word. I cut him off immediately. No. You fired me. Silence. He adjusted his glasses. We would like to discuss bringing you back. There it was. The offer. Exactly what I expected. Vanessa suddenly jumped in. We're prepared to restore your position immediately. Restore. As if they were doing me a favor. Then Ethan added. We can double your salary. For a second nobody spoke. And honestly, old me would have accepted. A week earlier I probably would have felt grateful. But something had changed. Years of swallowing disrespect had finally caught up. I looked at all their faces on screen. The same people who spent years pretending I was invisible. Now begging. I smiled. No. Ethan leaned forward. What do you mean no? I mean exactly what I said. The older board member spoke carefully. Miss Turner, you understand the company is losing millions. I nodded. Yes. And you're refusing to help? I stared straight into the camera, then finally said what I had wanted to say for years. You didn't fire an employee. I paused. You fired the person who built the foundation you're standing on. Nobody moved. So I continued. For 18 years I solved every crisis. No recognition. No respect. No promotion. You treated me like I was replaceable. I leaned closer. Now you're learning I wasn't. Complete silence. Then Ethan snapped. This is sabotage. I shook my head. No. I smiled. This is consequences. And I disconnected. 2 hours later Marcus sent another message. Board just removed Ethan. 10 minutes after that. Another one. Vanessa too. I stared at the screen. Didn't feel happiness. Didn't feel revenge. Mostly relief. Like carrying something heavy for years. And finally putting it down. 3 days later an official offer arrived. Triple salary. Executive title. Full authority over operations. Personal apology from the board. I deleted the email immediately. I was done. The company eventually recovered. They hired outside specialists. Spent millions rebuilding systems I originally built alone. Investors pulled funding. Half the executives disappeared. Their stock crashed 6 weeks later. Funny. 18 years of my loyalty cost them almost nothing. 3 days without me cost them everything. Sometimes I think about that office. The long nights. The weekends. The years I spent believing hard work automatically earns respect. Doesn't. People only value what they think they can lose. And by the time they realize your worth, sometimes you're already gone. Last week I started my own consulting business. Small team. For clients already. No executives. No fake HR smiles. No people pretending they built what I created. Just peace. Sometimes Ethan still emails. Never answer. I don't hate them. Hate takes energy. And honestly, I already gave that company enough of my energy. They thought I needed their job. But in the end, they discovered something far worse. I was never working for them. They were surviving because of me. And the moment they forgot that, everything collapsed. Funny how invisible people become unforgettable the second they stop holding everyone else together.